The Citizen Report is a production of New Shannon Media. All content protected under copyright. This is the Citizen Report with Jonathan Shannon.
And welcome to the Citizen Report. I'm Jonathan Shannon, and thank you for joining me today. As always, this newscast is real, in-depth American. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always good to be back with you. Well, tonight I've got a bombshell report to bring to you about the mainstream media and its ties to China, the Chinese Communist Party. Now, of course, the information I have to present to you, it's something that you have to read in between the lines because it doesn't come right out and say Chinese Communist Party. But what it does say is that it's got a pro-Chinese interest group. And I'll get to that in a minute. And let me be very clear up front. When I say this, I am not criticizing the Chinese people. What I'm talking about is the Chinese Communist Party, the regime there in China, mainland China. And also, I have a little bit of information to bring to you. I think it's going to pique your interest regarding the Sea event, shall we say. I'll get to that in a moment as well. First, let's get to the China, the bombshell concerning the mainstream media and China. First of all, I just want to bring to your attention about where all this information, at least part of it, I don't know if all of it comes from this, X22 report included some of this information, made mention of it to some extent at least, and he was citing the National Pulse. Let me share my screen so you can see this. It's in their headline from June 7th. It reads, influential Atlantic Council partnered with flagged CCP propaganda group. Now, CCP means Chinese Communist Party, all right? Now, this is what they say. The influential Atlantic Council think tank is partnered with a premier Chinese Communist Party propaganda organization flagged with co-opting Western elites and academics into backing positions supportive of Beijing's preferred policies, the National Pulse can reveal. Now, this is just bombshell information here. Now, this is what it also says. Alongside a number of Western media outlets, think tanks, and politicians, the Atlantic Council think tank has also collaborated with the China-United States Exchange Foundation. Founded by the chairman of the highest-ranking entity overseeing China's United Front, QCEF, and by the way, let me clarify what QCEF is. QCEF is the China-United States Exchange Foundation. It'll be commonly referred to as QCEF, C-U-S-E-F. So if you hear me say or see it, the phrase or acronym QCEF, that's what it means. All right. I'll come back to this in a moment. I was planning to also talk about this as well. Founded by the chairman of the highest-ranking entity overseeing China's United Front, QCEF functions as part of the Chinese Communist Party's United Front Work Department. The billion-dollar effort aims to co-opt and neutralize sources of potential opposition to the policies and authority of its ruling Chinese Communist Party and influence Western elites to, quote, take actions or adopt positions supportive of Beijing's preferred policies, unquote, according to the U.S. China Security and Economic Review Commission. And so basically, what this is basically getting at is that we're seeing more information being revealed, just confirming once again that the Chinese Communist Party, shorthand, we'll say China for shorthand, the Chinese Communist Party is basically infiltrated the mainstream media. And of course, this has really been no secret now for a number of years, but we're really beginning to get some hard information about this. And actually, the information I'm about to present to you it's actually document filings that have been out there for a number of years now. At least one of the documents goes back right about, looks like, just one second here. Yeah, almost 10 years now, the oldest document that I'm about to share with you in just one moment. Let me before I get to that, now the other article that X22 report cites on his report also comes from the National Pulse. Let me share my screen again so you can see that. The National Pulse, once again, this one's a little older, from December 30th. So, not that long ago, but, a number of months ago. Their headline back then read, quote, revealed, full list of Western media outlets participating in Chinese Communist propaganda events. Now, before I go any further, I feel like I owe due diligence to explain what QCEF is. Now, I shared my screen a moment ago, but let me now go to Wikipedia and just squarely for this very purpose talk about this organization for a second. China United States Exchange Foundation, or QCEF, is a Hong Kong-based nonprofit organization whose stated aim is to encourage dialogue and exchanges between the people of the United States and China. QCEF was founded in 2008 by Chung Chi-ha, a billionaire, former chief executive of Hong Kong and vice chair of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, who remains the chairman of the foundation. QCEF's governing board has included members such as Ronnie Chan, Elsie Long, and Victor Fong. QCEF donates to universities and think tanks in the U.S. while also sponsoring trips for journalists, keep that in mind, students, and former U.S. officials and politicians to China to speak with officials. I wonder what officials they were referring to, right? Let's keep going. Critics state that QCEF is a central part of the Chinese Communist Party's United Front strategy of influence in the U.S. So this was founded in October 2007. The founder, according to Wikipedia at least, is Chung Chi-ha. He was the first chief executive of Hong Kong. Okay, this is who that individual is. Let me clarify, or let me pull up what that actually means, the chief executive of Hong Kong. Now, of course, I probably don't need to tell you this, most likely anyway, but Hong Kong is basically part of China. Under a treaty with Great Britain, they're supposed to operate under a separate system of sorts from mainland China, while being ultimately part of the sovereignty, so to speak, or part of the political union with mainland China, if that makes any sense, notwithstanding the legitimacy or lack thereof of the government in China. Now, the chief executive of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region is the representative of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region and head of the government of Hong Kong. So basically, it's head of government of sorts for Hong Kong. Okay, so you're already starting to see some anecdotal evidence that China's got its tentacles here. Okay, but let's keep going. It keeps getting even better. Let's go now to the ChinaUSFocus.com. That will come back into play in just a little bit. Before I share my screen, let me make sure I'm got everything, all my ducks in a row here. Yeah, okay. So let me share my screen. China US Focus, ChinaUSFocus.com. And then on the About page, this is what they claim to be. China US Focus is an open platform website dedicated to sharing opinions and thoughts on the most important bilateral relationship of the 21st century. The opinions, conclusions, and recommendations provided by our contributors and publications are solely those of the authors and do not reflect the views of the China US Focus. China US Focus is published by the China United States Exchange Foundation, an independent, nonprofit, and non-governmental foundation. Do we really believe that? Committed to the belief that a positive and peaceful relationship between the strongest developed nation and the most populous, fast developing nation is essential for global well-being. Oh, now isn't this getting a little interesting, right? Now they claim that the pieces shared on this website is supposedly just reflective of the opinions and views of the authors. But is it really? Well, maybe I'll leave that up to you to decide. You need to, by the way, I encourage my audience. I haven't really dug through this website. So other people, y'all need to come back to this website, ChinaUSFocus.com, and dig a little deeper. Maybe there's something here I don't know about. I haven't really spent much time on this particular website. I just found the About page, so I can just kind of summarize what they claim to be. Now, having said that, now let's get into the meat of this. Now, first of all, let me explain. This is on page 3. Let me go back up to page 1 so you can see what this is. Now, this is the oldest document that I have to share with you here, okay? Now, this was received by the NSD FARA, F-A-R-A, registration unit on, looks like July 14, 2011. This is a U.S. Department of Justice form, it looks like, Exhibit B to registration statement pursuant to the Foreign Agents Registration Act of 1938 as amended. Okay, so this is concerning, and it's got name of registrant Brown Lloyd James, registration number 5875, and then it says name of foreign principal, China U.S. Exchange Foundation. Now let's go to page 3. This is basically in a letter, looks like it was recorded with this document. And this is basically a letter detailing basically this letter agreement. And I'll just read to you what it says. I may skip over some of the words, but this is roughly what it says. This letter agreement or agreement sets forth the terms and conditions under which Brown Lloyd James or agency agrees to provide public relations and related consulting services to China United States Exchange Foundation. Client effective as of January 1, 2010, or the effective date. So let me go down here a little bit. Some of this is completely, it doesn't really mean, not worth really mentioning. Now let's see here. Let me read down. This is on page 8, I think, of the entire filing, not the letter, but the entire filing, page 8. This is going to get really interesting, folks. You're about to get ready for your mind to be absolutely blown away by this. This is absolutely insane. This is what it reads. And I've skipped down, of course, but this is what it reads. Journalists' media trips to China. In order to develop favorable coverage in key national media, BLJ, and by the way, my apologies, I should have explained what BLJ is. And I should explain what it is real quick. This is what they claim. BLJ Worldwide is a boutique, interesting word, boutique, strategic consultancy founded by Peter Brown, specializing in public diplomacy, communications, and global affairs. We help governments, corporations, NGOs, individuals, and various organizations navigate the complex worlds of international policymakers and opinion leaders. We know whom to reach and how to reach them. Isn't that interesting? Okay, let's go back to this. Let me start this part again, because this is, you need to really get this. And then after this, if you think this is not bad enough, I got names of news organizations to share with you. Yeah. All right, here we go. Journalist media trips to China. In order to develop favorable coverage in key national media, BLJ, that's the organization, and their contract, it looks like it's some type of contractual agreement with this BLJ organization, okay? BLJ will continue to organize and staff familiarization trips to China. This includes recruiting top journalists. So that kind of means, like, what brings to your mind? Well, it would certainly seem as though they're talking about journalists that you would see on TV, the most visible ones, perhaps the most well-known journalists, okay? Not the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, but the actual, like, people in primetime television, or at least people that you might be familiar with their name at the very minimum. This includes recruiting top journalists to travel to China, selected for effectiveness and opportunities for favorable coverage. These visits should be designed to offer a fresh and positive look at China's accomplishments and underscore how important it is for the U.S. to engage directly with China. BLJ recommends a group of 3 to 5 journalists per trip with a mix of reporters that focus on international business, foreign policy, and cultural issues. In addition, BLJ recommends that at least one journalist trip per year be focused on one specific topic or subject area. For example, BLJ suggests the October 2010 trip to focus on ethnic minorities and religious diversity. Yeah, religious diversity. Yeah, like China is somehow a bastion of religious diversity. Yeah, how about explain all the Christian persecution going on in China? Yeah, so much for tolerating Christianity, right? Let's keep going. BLJ suggests that the trip be comprised of 3 to 5 cultural and religious reporters, and that the visit offer insight into China's achievements in diversifying its population, providing opportunities for minorities, and encouraging religious freedom for all ethnic groups. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, like I totally believe that. Let's keep going. This gets even more interesting. At a later stage, this trip can be expanded to include Tibet with select participants chosen for effectiveness and opportunities for favorable coverage. Group participants can be selected from previous trips to ensure familiarity with the foundation's goals, and combined with religious leaders chosen for their diversity of opinions and open minds. Time schedule. Brown Lloyd James recommends arranging at least 3 trips a year. Please note price is subject to change based on airline ticket changes. Note, implementation of the proposed journalist familiarization trip to China program is subjected to approval of QCEP. Okay, there's that organization name, on project basis. Now I think I closed the tab. Let me pull it up real quick again. Okay, so once again, so this journalist familiarization trip to China program is subjected to approval of QCEF on project basis. And they're saying basically this program is subject, at least back then, was subject to or has been subject to China United States Exchange Foundation. Okay, just want to make sure I'm clear on that. Okay, let's go back to this. Oh boy. Now this gets even stranger, because now we're starting to talk about what looks like college students. So we're already now we're talking about recruiting people from a very young age, when you're an adult, when you're 18, 19, 20, I don't know what specific age group they have in mind, but I assume this would mean probably college age. You're just becoming an adult, and you're easily impressionable at that age still. So, and I'm sure China knows that very, very well. Let's read this part. Journalism, school, media trips to China. In order to educate the next generation of U.S. journalists on China and U.S.-China relations while they are still honing their craft, BLJ will organize and staff familiarization trips to China for a select group of journalism students selected for their open-minded outlook and their interest on Sino-U.S. relations. The visit should serve as a general introduction to China and Chinese students, but should also focus on innovation in specific sectors such as the media environment, education, arts or entertainment, business school, or I should say business, technology, etc. The trips will be designed to offer a fresh and positive look at China's accomplishments, help dispel misperceptions, promote constructive reporting, and underscore how important it is for the U.S. to engage directly with China in the years to come. BLJ will facilitate partnerships between QCEF and high-profile graduate journalism programs to promote academic exchanges between Chinese and American journalism students. So it looks like that they're targeting particularly graduate journalism programs, okay? I just wanted to underscore that. BLJ will contact each journalism school and arrange for promotional materials and applications to be distributed. Applications can be sent to BLJ for review, and a short list will later be sent to QCEF for final approval. BLJ will conduct in-depth interviews with the final candidates for selection to the trip. Time schedule. Brown Lloyd James recommends arranging 2 trips a year during the winter and spring breaks. Please note, price is subject to change based on airline ticket changes. Note, implementation of the proposed journalism school familiarization trip to China program is subjected to approval of QCEF on project basis. So, just making sure I didn't miss anything important here. All right, that's all I'll share of that recording. Now let's go to the next one. Now, I'm not going to really spend much time on the words. I'm going to really focus more on the lists here, but I am going to, let me take note of the page number so I can quickly flip back to it. Page 18, okay. Let me share my screen so you can take note of which document this is. Okay, once again, this was received by NSD or NSD/FARA registration unit on January 30th, 2012. This is another U.S. Department of Justice document or form. Supplemental statement pursuant to the Foreign Agents Registration Act of 1938 as amended. Once again, we're talking about name of registrant, Brown Lloyd James, registration number 5875, and business address, okay, whatever, that's in New York, whatever. Okay, now let's go down. I'm going to really focus on the list here. Okay. Bear with me for 1 second. Making sure I'm not missing something. Okay, let me take this bigger for you. All right, this is what it says. The China-U.S. Exchange Foundation reached out to the following universities and media outlets for contributions for the U.S. or China-U.S. focused website. And keep in mind, that was the website I was talking about a few minutes ago. All right, this is a pretty lengthy list, so let's get started. American Enterprise Institute, American University, Asia and Pacific Rim Institute at the American Jewish Committee, Asia Program, Atlantic Council of the United States. There we have it again. Atlantic Council, I should say. So we're already starting to see things start to intertwine a little bit, aren't we? All right. Asia Society, Baker and Hostetler LLP. I guess that means limited liability partnership. Boston College, Boston University, Brookings Institute, Brown University, CV Star and Company, Carnegie Council for Ethics and International Affairs, Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, Cato Institute, Center for American Progress, Center for Economic and Policy Research, Center for Naval Analyses, Center on U.S.-China Relations / George Washington University, Chicago Council on Global Affairs, Chicago Tribune. So we already starting to see some of the mainstream media starting to leak into this, aren't we? China-Europe International Business School, China Institute, Columbia University, Congressional Quarterly, Congressional Research Service, Corporate Council on Africa, Council on Foreign Relations. That's a big one right there. Council on Foreign Relations. That's probably one of the most visible deep state think tanks out there. Council on Foreign Relations. Some of these I'm probably going to underscore for emphasis because this is a long list anyway. Country Risk Solutions, Covington and Burlington, Creative Strategies, Inc., CSIS, Dartmouth, Defense Group, Inc., East-West Institute, Economic Strategy Institute, Elliott School of International Affairs at the George Washington University, Eurasia Group, Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Oh, okay, now we got the Federal Reserve in here. Well, of course, they're deep state, and they're not of the American people. They're a private Western central bank system, right? Fletcher School, Tufts University, Forbes, another one, another mainstream outlet, it looks like. Fordham University, George Mason University, George Washington University, Georgetown University, Georgia Tech University, German Marshall Fund, Global Conflict and Cooperation, or IGCC, Goldman Sachs, Greenberg Traurig LLP, Greenpoint Group, Harvard University. I'm not really surprised at that one. Heritage Foundation, Hills and Company International Consultants, Hudson Institute, Indiana University, International Rivers, Johns Hopkins University, another one I'm not really surprised at, Kalamazoo College, Kissinger Institute on China, and the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. Now that's a mouthful. Kissinger and Woodrow Wilson. Those are probably two, like Woodrow Wilson, wasn't it under him that the Federal Reserve was brought in? Yeah, I think so. And Kissinger, if it's the same Kissinger, isn't that Harry Kissinger? Yeah, that guy, it looks like. Or an organization named after him or them. Loyola Marymount, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Middlebury College, Midwest U.S.-China Association, Moody's Analytics, National Bureau of Asia Research, National Council on U.S.-China Relations, National Resources Defense Council, National America Foundation, National America Media, New York University, Northwestern University. Oh, wow. Now, this one just surprises me just slightly, because now we're getting into middle America here. But we also have Oklahoma State University, OSI, Peridot Investors, Peterson Institute for International Economics, Princeton University, Principalist Asset Management, Rand Corporation. Looks like they misspelled corporation, or at least possibly did. Reason Foundation, Scowcroft, Seton Hall University, Shirley Young Associates Limited Liability Corporation, or Limited Liability Company, depending on which state they're organized in, or just LLC, whatever. Silk Road Studies, Smith College, Standard Chartered, Stanford University, the Atlantic. Now there's another one. The Lowy Institute, the Nation, Think Global, Time. Oh, there's a big one. Time. Yeah. Towson University, Tufts University, U.S. Institute for Peace, U.S. Naval War College, U.S. China Policy Foundation, UCLA. I believe that's University of California, Los Angeles, right? If I'm not mistaken. We got a whole bunch of universities right here. University of California at Berkeley, University of California at San Diego, University of Chicago, University of Iowa, University of Maryland, University of Michigan, University of Southern California, University of Michigan, University of Washington, U.S. Naval War College, U.S. China Business Council, U.S. China Policy Foundation, Vanderbilt University, there's that one, Washington Note, Weatherhead East Asian Institute, Wesleyan University, Wilmer, Cutler, Pickering, Hell, and Dorr, and Yale University. All right. Now, if that wasn't a lot to take in, I'm going to stop sharing my screen to allow you a second to let that all sink in for a second. And I'm going to share my screen again because I've got another list to share with you. This time it's going to get even now we're going to get really into the meat of this concerning the mainstream media. Okay. And I hope you're still sticking with me, because I promise you, you will not regret it. All right. We also arranged, all right, let's keep going now. We also arranged private dinners at BLJ's CEO's home on behalf of QSEF. Okay. Below is a list of outlets that attended. Now, let me read this before I do that again. Let me just read to you. Let me remind you once more. China United States Exchange Foundation. Okay, that's who we're talking about here. And we already know from other statements that they want favorable coverage of China, of the Chinese Communist Party. Okay. So I guarantee you the whole objective of this is to kind of butter them up and make them feel, oh, China likes me. I like, we should report so favorably on China. Right. All right. Below is a list of outlets that attended these private dinners. Now, this is absolutely not shocking whatsoever, but we have the New York Times, all right, Forbes Asia, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, Thomson Reuters, Bloomberg, Economist, Newsweek, Nation, ABC News, CNN, and Yahoo Inc. We also arranged for the following U.S. government officials and media outlets to go on trips to China. And let me stop the screen for a second. Let me clarify something. And I've said this before, but you have the Democrat Party that, in my opinion, is the Democrat Party because they worship killing babies in the womb. And if they had their way, they would kill outside the womb too. There are the party of Satan. But at the same time, while you have the Democratic Party, the Republican Party is not perfect either. You got a lot of bad apples in it. So you're about to see proof of this. All right. All right, here we go. Senator Norm Coleman, Republican of Michigan. Senator Byron Dorgan, Democrat of North Dakota. Senator Bob Bennett, Republican of Utah. National Public Radio, perhaps better known as NPR. Atlantic Magazine, Yahoo Inc., Bloomberg View, MSNBC, Thomson Reuters. Now, I could keep going here, but let me make sure there's nothing else of great importance. Well, let me go ahead and read this to you. There's kind of vague on this, so it's kind of hard to glean exactly what they intend to say here, but I'll just go ahead and read this too. It says, we also reached out to the following media outlets for participation in coverage of the upcoming forum. CNN, CNN International, NBC, CNBC, The Atlantic, the New York Times, ABC, The Atlantic. I don't know why they appear twice on here, but whatever. The Times, Picayune, I'm probably mispronouncing it. Reuters, Time, the Associated Press, Scientific American, Huffington Post, NYC News, Bloomberg, USA Today, World Tribune, New York Post, MSNBC, TreeHugger.com, Discover Magazine, Green Wire, The New Yorker, EENews.net, Discovery.com, Washington Post, Newsweek, NPR, Fox, and CBS. All right. Well, this just keeps getting more interesting, isn't it? All right, and here's just one more I'll go ahead and read. The following U.S. media outlets attended a media trip to Ecuador in October 2011, Time Magazine. All right, so there you go. Now I'm going to go to this next document. This is on page 11 of this last document. This one is from 2014, also received by the NSD/FARA registration unit on July 31st, 2014. U.S. Department of Justice supplemental statement pursuant to the Foreign Agents Registration Act of 1938 as amended. Name of registrant, BLJ Worldwide Limited, registration number 5875. All right, I'm going to skip down to page 11 here. 1 second here. Okay. And the prompt on this document, I probably should have read this on the others, but on this one it says at least, during this 6-month reporting period, have you, on behalf of any foreign principal engaged in political activity as defined below? If yes, identify each such foreign principal and describe in full detail all such political activity. The China-U.S. Exchange Foundation reached out to the following universities, media outlets, and think tanks for contributions to the China-U.S. focus. Universities: Boston University, Bucknell University, Claremont McKenna College, Columbia University, Cornell University, Fordham University, George Washington University, Georgetown University, Harvard University, Johns Hopkins University, Loyola Marymount University, New York University, Pepperdine University. Now that's a slightly surprising one. Pepperdine University, that is. Seton Hall University, Tufts University, University of Iowa, University of Southern California, University of Virginia, University of Wyoming, U.S. Naval War College, Vanderbilt University, Yale University. And now we have media outlets to read. The Atlantic, Forbes, New American Media, think tanks, American Enterprise Institute, Brookings Institution, Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, Cato Institute, Center for Economic and Policy Research, Center for Naval Analyses, Center for New American Security, Center for Strategic and International Studies, Committee of 100. Now that just sounds deep state to me. Council of 100. That just sounds deep state to me right there. And then right next to that, we also have Council on Foreign Relations, which is a huge enchilada of a deep state think tank. Council on Foreign Relations. Eurasia Group, Heritage Foundation, Hudson Institute, Jamestown Foundation, National Council on U.S.-China Relations, Peterson Institute for International Economics, Rand Corporation, Reason Foundation, and Stanley Foundation. Okay, now pay close attention. Now this is going to get, let me stop sharing my screen for a second. This is going to get extremely interesting once again, because this is, we're talking about private dinners. So now we're really cozying up to the Chinese Communist Party by proxy, of course, it looks like. All right. We also arranged private dinners in New York and Washington, D.C. on behalf of CUSEF. Below is a list of outlets that attended. New York Times, Associated Press, Time Magazine, Quartz, CBS News, Bloomberg, Forbes Magazine, The Atlantic, Agence France Presse, I guess, Wall Street Journal, McClatchy Newspapers. Oh, McClatchy Newspapers. Isn't that, doesn't Charlotte Observer, aren't they owned by that? I have to Google this real quick. I'm not sure if this is exactly the same one. McClatchy Newspapers. I don't know what else it'd be referring to. Let's see here. 1 second here. Yep, Charlotte Observer. Let's see. When did they buy them? Okay, so they've been owned since 2006. So Charlotte Observer was owned by McClatchy by this point. The McClatchy Company. And I'm assuming that's the same McClatchy, okay? All right, so again, McClatchy Newspapers, Congressional Quarterly, LA Times, Financial Times, CNN, Business Week, Forbes Asia, Washington Post, The Hill, BBC News, now that's a big one, Reuters. We also arranged for the following U.S. former government officials and media outlets to go on trips to China. June 10th through the 18th, NPR or National Public Radio, Harvard Business Review, Financial Times, Slate Magazine, and Politic. May 18th to 25, we have Tim Roemer, Democrat of Indiana, John Christensen, Republican of Nebraska, Jim Slattery, Democrat of Kansas, Steve Bartlett, Republican of Texas. Now that's interesting. Don Bonker, Democrat of Washington. So let me scroll down here and make sure I'm not missing anything. Let me make sure, I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything here that I should read to you before I move on from this. And let me just clarify something. This is just a very small footnote. McClatchy Newspapers owns a whole bunch of newspapers. I didn't mean that to mean just Charlotte Observer. They just happen to be one of the newspapers, all right? But anyways, this is a very interesting thing. Now, this has been out there, okay? But this just proves conclusively, this is not my opinion. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is literally a government filing, okay? A document received by the federal government where it certifies that parts of the mainstream media are absolutely infiltrated from within by the Chinese Communist Party by proxy, of course. I've already read off where they basically want favorable coverage. Okay. And they're also trying to recruit young recruits, trying to get people on board with the Chinese Communist Party at an early age. And let me clarify something once more. When I'm talking about China, I am not talking about the Chinese people that are being oppressed by the Chinese Communist Party. I am talking about the Chinese Communist Party. Okay. The word communist should be alone to get you to not want to support the Chinese Communist Party. Just saying. All right. So, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Anybody that claims that China is actually for freedom, that's absolutely ridiculous. For religious diversity, yeah, right. Yeah, you persecute Christians, okay. All right. That's absolutely, I mean, that alone is completely repulsive, okay, on the part of the Chinese government, the mainland Chinese government. And I will just also say that I don't even like the phrase religious diversity, because frankly, there's only one way to heaven, and that's through the Lord Jesus Christ. Only through Jesus are you going to find salvation. Okay. I'm just making that clear too. Okay. But I digress. I'm just talking about what these statements are saying, okay, regarding what they claim to stand for. And it's completely, like I said, ridiculous that they claim to have religious diversity. They don't tolerate religious diversity. They don't tolerate Christianity. Okay. I've heard stories where they bulldoze churches in China, if I'm not mistaken. Someone can correct me if I'm getting that wrong, but I believe that's correct. So China, Chinese Communist Party, and again, I clarify, it's a Chinese Communist Party that I'm talking about, that I'm criticizing. I'm not criticizing the Chinese people. They're being oppressed. They're victims. Okay. So let me now switch gears before I wrap up. This is just a small, I'm just going to only mention this briefly in passing. I can't really get into this because of YouTube, their algorithms. If they realize what I'm saying, they'll probably pull this video down. This is from johnbwellsnews.com, and they're an excellent news aggregate site. This is a headline they shared to their site, and this is posted today, at least on this side, at least. It says, quote, "Scientists who denounced theory now says investigation needed into origins of C." Okay, you can look on your screen for the full headline. There's some words I just can't read. Otherwise, I'd take a risk. Okay. A scientist who signed a letter denouncing any notion that the CCP or Chinese Communist Party, the C, didn't originate in nature, now backs an investigation into its origins. Isn't that interesting? And the scientist that's being talked about is Dr. Peter Pelez, a microbiologist at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, was one of 27 scientists who signed the letter, which was published in The Lancet on March 7, 2020. And they said back then, quote, "We stand together to strongly condemn conspiracy theories suggesting that C does not have a, and you can read, that I wish I could just say it, but just look on your screen. All right. They were trying to say back then that it happened in nature. Okay. And that these conspiracy theories, they're strongly condemning conspiracy theories. Now that Dr. Peter Pelez, it says, Peter Pelez now says he supports a probe. Quote, "I believe a thorough investigation about the origin of the C is needed," quote, unquote. Pelez told the Daily Mail, quote, "A lot of disturbing information has surfaced since the Lancet letter I signed, so I want to see answers covering all questions," unquote. So, very interesting. And of course, scientific community is divided, blah, blah, blah. All right, well, I just thought you should be aware of that. That's a very interesting development too. So take what I said, use discernment. If you need discernment, ask God for it. I need to ask God for discernment too. And I think that everything I covered today basically proves without a reasonable doubt that the mainstream media is completely and thoroughly compromised. And I've been saying that, but now I've just showed you documents that it literally certifies to such. Okay. And again, I'm not criticizing the Chinese people. I'm talking about the Chinese Communist, okay, Party. Okay. It's a terribly, the CCP is a satanic regime, complete, devoid of God, of a regime. Okay. So that's a lot. That's a lot of names I covered today, a lot of organization names I covered today, but I hope this has been a blessing. I hope this has been helpful. And as always, use discernment. I'm just a guy doing this. So if you like what I do, please, if you feel led to, share my video so I can get this out there a little bit more, because my reach is only so far, and I believe that that Facebook is, for instance, Facebook is throttling back my reach, because I'll post something and it's very rare that I'll get much reaction to it these days concerning politics, particularly if it's of a controversial nature. It depends on the post, of course, but and of course, personal posts, yeah, a lot of them, I'll get a lot of reaction. So I think some of it also plays into people's attitude towards the truth. So anyways, I just want to remind you of the website, thecitizenreport.weebly.com or citizenreport.tv. As of this recording, stinger.live is still down. And we're now well over a week, I think. We're coming up on 2 weeks, I think, since the website went down. I still don't have an answer for you. I'm going to be working on trying to reach out to somebody. I've already tried to reach out through GoDaddy. I'm probably now going to reach out to somebody that may have a direct connection to the website via Facebook on a personal basis. We'll have to wait and see. I'll keep you posted on that. So God bless each and every one of you. And thank you for watching the Citizen Report as always. I so very much appreciate your support, and please keep me in your prayers. I really do appreciate that also. And I'll see you right back here again next time. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.